Hi, my people. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Lizzie. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not new here, welcome back. It's so good to have you always. Every single time that I introduce myself on this mic, I feel like that one YouTuber that's like, "What's up, YouTube, tube?" Who is that Kai Cenat? I don't know. I'm not really in the whole streamer world. Coming at you today from a place of honestly like distress. Like life has been lifing lately, okay? The highs have been so high, but the lows have been like hella fucking low. And I don't know if you guys can resonate with that or not. And if you can't, then I still feel like everything I'm talking about in this episode today is going to apply to all of our lives. Because today I'm just taking a little bit of a different route than the past few episodes that I've published under Creative Weirdo. With this whole new rebrand, my episodes have been more lighthearted and fun, and they always will have lighthearted aspects to them. But today I kind of want to dig a little bit deeper, okay? We're going back to our patience to prosperity roots a little bit with this episode. We're going to talk a lot about attention, paying attention, awareness, presence, spiritual psychosis in a way, low key. I feel like I don't know, how are y'all feeling lately, because I'm low key feeling like I'm just getting out of a very deep spiritual psychosis that I've been in for like honestly a really fucking long time, like months. And I honestly feel like I go through this almost every single year, to be honest, because I am a creature of nature, as all of us are, but I like really, really, really work in tune with nature. And I feel like every single time that we have a little less sunlight and it starts to get colder, and like my body literally feels it all and shuts down. And spiritually, I feel like I'm more exhausted and like I need my spirituality more than ever, but I feel more drained and depleted than I ever do. So it's harder to tap into those spiritual parts of me. So sometimes, like, I hate saying that because, like, when you are a spiritual person, that's not a part of you that is who you are. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something that I just tap into here and there. It's like I am a spiritual being experiencing what it's like to be human for the first time. So when I use the term tapping into my spirituality, I'm not saying that I'm tapping in a way of like I've been tapped out, but I do think it has to do with what we're talking about today, which is paying attention and kind of coming clear with what you're paying attention to, because then we invite the whole conversation of awareness into what we're talking about. And awareness, attention, attunement, whatever the fuck you want to call it, when we're paying attention and we're aware of what we're paying attention to, that's where mindfulness comes into play. And when we're being mindful, we're also being present. So that's honestly the key to a happy life. Okay. We've uncovered it in the first few minutes of today's episode. So that's all I have for you guys. I'll see you next week. No, I'm kidding. But on a deeper level, and I'm not going to get super into my spiritual beliefs and things like that. We'll touch the surface today, but I kind of want to do a whole episode on where I'm at with spirituality, religion, all those things. Not even just so that you guys get a better understanding of kind of how I see the world from a spiritual lens, but also just to open up the conversation and talk about it and question my thoughts, question your thoughts, just kind of like literally just open up the conversation, because that's what we're doing here every single time I hop on this mic. Anyways, what I've realized about myself is that I'm someone who is very, very self-aware, like almost to a destructive point, actually. I use the word self-aware, but it's also like self-awareness can come with a level of self-criticism that can be unbearable at times. And it can be very detrimental to your self-esteem and how you show up in the world and how you view yourself and your ability to get through things and your ability to believe that you deserve things. And that's when imposter syndrome comes in and all the things. So all my self-aware people, tap in, because it's hard. It's hard knowing things. I'm kidding. That was a joke, okay? I sound so like I'm putting myself on a pedestal right now. No. Okay, I'm not. I'm really not. But where I was going with this, now that I've been talking about it for 10 minutes, when you are someone who's very tapped into your own emotions. So when I say self-aware, you can also kind of interchange that term with emotionally intelligent, okay? I consider myself to be a very emotionally intelligent person. And since I am so emotionally intelligent, every single time I feel an emotion, I look at it as a tool. I know that my emotions are coming up for a reason, and I know that we are meant to feel our emotions in order to release them. Like, emotions are meant to be felt and released, okay? They're not meant to be something that we dwell in. They're not meant to be something that we identify with. They're meant to be released. So I had a light bulb moment the other day where I realized that I bypass my emotions a lot by trying to understand them so deeply. Kind of a crazy thought, right? Like, maybe not that crazy. Maybe that's a thought that you've had when you were 7 years old. I don't know. But like, it's one of those thoughts that I feel like I always knew, but I had to put into words in order to like fully attune to. Does that make sense? Like, I really do feel like sometimes I'm almost avoiding my own emotions by trying to understand them so deeply. Like, sometimes your emotions just want you to feel them, not to fully understand them. And I'm always looking at, like, okay, well, why do I feel this way? What made me feel this way? What do I need right now? All those things. And that's great. And I would never advocate for the opposite ever. But I do think it takes a level of awareness and attunement to understand that there is a fine line between letting yourself feel something and letting yourself dwell in that feeling. And that's something that I'm struggling with a lot lately, is just this whole idea of detachment, which we'll get into a little bit. But, I'm starting to realize that there's certain things in life that you can't fully detach from. And I know that's, some people are going to disagree with that, so just hear me out. But I've always been someone to think that, detachment is the way to go. Like, when you're attached to nothing and connected to everything, that's the ultimate state of being in general, like, we're spiritual beings. We're connected to everything, whether we want to be or not, but we don't need to attach our emotional frequency to everything. We don't need to let everything affect us. But I also think that there is something to say about the fact that even if you are detached from things as much as you possibly can be, they still can impact you. And that's a really hard pill for me to swallow, especially lately, because I'm starting to realize, with the state of the world, the politics of the world, the emotional turbulence I feel just in the common collective around us, and even more personally, like with my family life and things like that, it comes to a point where it's like, I can detach from this, but only to a certain point. I feel like I do reach a wall, ultimately, because I'm someone who cares. Like, shoot me. But like, I feel like when you're someone who has empathy, it's really hard to just fully detach and let go and let yourself be separate from something. But I think it comes down to kind of identifying and defining what the word detachment actually means to you. Because in my head, I think I have detachment out to be, I'm never thinking about this thing. It has no impact on me whatsoever because I'm never thinking about it, because I'm someone who is a deep thinker. So when I think about things, I know that I'm giving it power in a way. So in order for me to detach from something, I tell myself that I shouldn't even be thinking about it. Because if I'm thinking about it, that means I care about it. That means I'm giving it power. And if I want to detach, that means I need to fully let go. So that feels like a contradicting thing, to be thinking about it, but also be telling myself that I've detached from it. But it's hard because I really do believe in my heart of hearts that detachment has to do with energy, and it has to do with the energy you put in and get out, and expectation, like what kind of expectation you have on things or people to meet in order to feel like you can let go from things. And I don't have a clear understanding of what detachment means to me right now, because I'm still going through that and I'm talking it out with you guys right now. But the closest thing I can come to right now is letting go of expectation. And that, for me, I think is why it's such a hard pill to swallow, because when you detach from something and when you release all your expectations from something, especially when it comes to relationships and people, and especially people who are close to you. So maybe it's like close friends you've had in your life forever, or maybe it's even family. Okay. I know I'm projecting a lot. I think it can be hard when there's people in your life that you have a bond to or a tie to in a way where you can't just up and leave, and you can't just choose to not have them be a part of your life, because ultimately they already have been and they always will be in a way, you know? And it hurts when you have to lower your expectations so much for people just to not be disappointed by them. And the second episode that I released for season 9, which is actually season 1 of Creative Weirdo, but season 9 of this entire podcast, because I've been doing this for a minute, okay? But episode 2 was all about speaking your mind and just saying what you feel and using your voice and feeling disrespected by other people, but also disrespecting yourself by not speaking up, like all those things. Because I really do feel deeply that in every single area of my life, especially in my relationships, I am being called to use my voice more. I'm being called to speak my mind and say how I actually feel instead of just bottling my emotions up so that other people feel comfortable. Yeah, I think I've just gotten to a point where I'm really sick of putting myself on the back burner. I'm really sick of stuffing things down and, just letting it all build. And I don't know, it's just not what I stand for. At the end of the day, like, I am not someone who would want to be friends with someone who feels like their needs are not being met but doesn't say anything about it until it gets to the point where it's honestly building resentment because your needs haven't even been met on the most minuscule level. And since you haven't said that, they haven't been met on a larger scale either. You know what I mean? It all builds. So, moral of the story with what I'm saying right now, it's hard to completely detach from things that you feel like you are inherently connected to. Okay. And you can take that as you will. You can take that in literally however it applies to your life. But, it makes me realize that there are certain things in life that will impact you, even if you are not actively engaging with them. Okay. Even like friendships or people that have burned you in the past or are burning you right now, those things can impact you even if you don't have high expectations for them. Okay. And I think that just comes down to you having a sense of worth and having a sense of self where you understand that you deserve more than what those people or those things are giving to you or giving to the collective at stake. And of course, it feels disrespectful in a way to accept less than you deserve, especially if you've worked so hard to uncover and understand that you are a person of worth. And not just that you are a person of worth, but understanding what you deserve, you know? So, yeah, I think I'm in a phase of my life where I'm ready to be shown what I deserve rather than be shown lessons of what I deserve through things that I didn't deserve. Okay. I don't know if that makes any fucking sense. So I'm going to explain it a little bit further. But, like, for example, I really don't think that I need to be learning lessons right now through people who make me feel like I am less worthy. Like, I don't need to learn my worth through people or things treating me less than what I deserve. Does that make sense? It's like that whole concept of people are either a lesson or a blessing. I think I'm at a point in my life where I don't need any more lessons, okay? And I want to learn my lessons through the blessings right now. That's where I'm at personally. And obviously I'm going to take whatever lessons thrown at me right now, and I can't really control that fully to an extent. Some of it is out of my control, whatever. It's not what I'm trying to say. But I feel I'm supposed to learn my lessons through love, not through hardship. You know? And that's obviously easier said than done. And I also think that, like, as much as I say that, I could always uncover more lessons in the hardships through love that I've experienced in my life. But that goes back to what I was saying in the beginning about how when I'm so focused on understanding my emotions, I'm sometimes bypassing them. Because since I'm someone who always gives people the benefit of the doubt, when I'm trying to understand how someone else is making me feel and why it's making me feel that way, I'm also subconsciously in some way always being driven to understand why they would do what they did to me because of what they've been through or whatever it is. And sometimes that makes you lose the plot a little bit. If I'm being so honest, lately I feel like every now and then I'm losing the plot a little bit. And that's kind of what brought me to sit on the mic today, because I'm realizing I just keep getting this download of paying attention. Like, I swear, like, Spirit just keeps telling me, pay attention, open your eyes, and focus on what you're paying attention to. Okay? Because then once you realize like what you're focusing on, the things that you're focusing on tend to become a little bit clearer to you. Okay? Because not for nothing, but I always say that our collective goal in life, what all of us want to feel, is peace. Okay? That's what we're all striving towards. Whether we know it consciously or not, I think we are all trying to find peace. And I also think, okay, maybe not. Maybe not. I worded that wrong, because some people actually look for chaos. Okay? Some people look for chaos. But I truly believe that all of our purpose in life, like every single individual on this earth, our purpose is peace. As simple as it sounds, I do think that it is that simple sometimes, but there is complexity in how simple that is, you know, because we're complex beings and life is fucking hard. Okay. So we're always being challenged on the one thing that we are meant to be living out of constantly, which is a place of peace. And that's one of the reasons why life can feel so complex sometimes, is because sometimes we lose the plot, like I said, and we forget that peace is our purpose. And we think that what we're doing in our life is cultivating peace, when in reality, what we're doing is we're trying to avoid discomfort and chaos. So we're trying to run away from anxiety as fast as we can in order to cultivate peace in our life. But that causes more turbulence, because finding ultimate peace in your life can only be sought from a place of peace. You can't expect to find peace in every area of your life if you are constantly operating from chaos and anxiety and fear, you know? How do you expect everything in your life to just feel blissful when you're choosing chaos every single time? Because we forget that we have autonomy over our lives to a certain extent. And part of that autonomy comes with making choices on a daily basis, on a literal cellular level, if you want to go there. All my quantum physics people tap in right now. You have the choice to constantly be choosing peace over chaos. And I know that sounds way more simple than it might feel, or what the reality of the situation might entail. But I say all the time to my yoga students, peace is a practice, patience is a practice. All those things that require your attention and require you to be present in the moment and focus on what's happening in the here and now, that is all a practice. That's all something that we are constantly having to bring our awareness back to, because we get sidetracked. Okay, we're human beings and our brains they're so cool, but also when we let our awareness go completely, our brains can take us to places that we don't necessarily want to be and can be a lot harder to get out from. Okay, but what I just said kind of brings in the idea of control, because I think that when we bring our understanding to a situation or a scenario or a person that we realize is not fully aligned to us, and it could just be a feeling, you know, it could just be us picking up on a vibe, and we realize we don't want to feel that way. What we try to do is we try to control the situation, the person, our thoughts, our emotions. We know we need to let go and we need to relinquish and we need to, you know, just trust. But sometimes when we try to trust the process, we actually end up trying to control it more than we do let it be what it is. And I don't have all the answers, okay? I really don't. And I hope y'all know that I don't see myself that way, and I don't want you to ever expect me to have all the answers to life's questions, because I think in a way the point of life is to not know all the answers and to give it meaning and all those things. But I'm going to stop myself there because I don't even want to go in that direction today. But I just think that there's something to say about paying attention, bringing your awareness to things. And I think that's where the conversation of balance also comes in today. We're really hitting every single mark today. We're talking about balance, control, awareness, presence, connection, energy. Like what have we not talked about today, honestly? But I really think that the quote unquote goal in life, I don't like really using that word, to be honest, but I think a lot of us would say that we're striving for balance, okay? In our day-to-day lives, what we want to feel is balance. But I also think that maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, maybe y'all can resonate, but I think that we all don't really have a clear understanding of what balance actually means and feels to us in our physical bodies, in our minds, whatever it might be. I feel like every moment where I realize that I've had balance in my life has been kind of an after the fact thought for me. And maybe that just says something about my presence and my awareness and mindfulness at the time. But I think that the only times that I'm fully aware of my life being as balanced as I want it to be is when I get out of balance. Okay. And I start to realize, shit, I was way more balanced last week than I realized I was, because now I feel like all my fucking wheels fell off, you know? And then I dig deeper into it and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I wasn't as balanced as I thought because it pushed me to this state of being so off balance, you know? So I think that's also something that I need to constantly bring my awareness to is, first of all, uncovering what my definition of balance even is, because I think that it's always changing. And I also think that it's not clear cut. I think that it's normal and very common to think about balance as an even distribution of this 50-50 kind of slate. But as human beings, since we're so complex, balance is not 50-50 for us, okay? And it depends on the situation. It depends on our energy levels. It depends on the person. It depends on, God, if you're a woman, it depends on where you are in your cycle. Like, it depends on so many things. But I think that's why it's really important to understand yourself, because, I mean, it's important to understand yourself on so many levels. But when we're talking about balance, I think you need to understand what balance means to you in the aspects of your life where you can find it, okay? Because there are certain things in your life that just objectively require a lot more of your energy than other things do. But there's also things in your life that require more energy subjectively that you might need to just tap into for a second and realize it can be very draining, and you need to kind of implement something that is maybe less draining in order to make that task a little more manageable, you know? And one of the ways that I like to do this is adding more whimsy into my life, okay? And I just recorded an episode about weird ways to add more whimsy into your life. So keep an eye open for it. But yeah, I think it can be hard because when you're trying to find balance in your life and there are certain things that undeniably deplete your energy more than they do kind of fill your glass, it makes it hard to focus on implementing something that is going to combat the lack of energy you already are operating from, because just the idea that you need to implement something else means that it requires energy for you to do that. Okay. So I find myself sometimes when I'm in really low spots, kind of dwelling in those spots sometimes because I don't have the energy to do the things I know would make me feel better. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I know for a fact it makes me feel fantastic when I start my day with a good workout, when I start it with a little yoga flow, or, you know, I start my day reading or writing poetry. I don't know, literally anything that requires a little bit of intellect or presence, right? Like, I know that is good for me. But I also know that sometimes when I'm feeling the lowest vibrational energy that I've felt in a while, it feels like more of a task to implement a task that is going to replenish my energy levels. So it just feels like a black hole that I get stuck in way more often than I'd like to admit. And it can be really challenging. It can be really hard. But that's why I say to you guys, like, I'm not here to give y'all the answers. I'm more so here to just talk about it and open up the conversation. I don't know. Anyways, tapping back into the whole paying attention theme of today's episode. When I was saying before how everything is energy and we're connected to everything and attached to nothing and all that stuff, one of the ways that I find myself getting my sparkle back, okay, when I'm in a little bit of a spiritual drought, because ultimately my spirituality is what gives me a sense of purpose. You know, if I don't feel like I'm connected to anything and I don't feel like there's a reason behind everything and everything in my life is happening when it's supposed to, how it's supposed to. I'm supposed to be feeling everything when I feel it and all that stuff. Then it makes me feel purposeless and it makes the pain that I endure feel so much more intense because it feels almost unfair and it makes you feel like things are happening to you, not for you, which is always just a very hard place and state to live by, you know? So, with that being said, when I start to get my sparkle back is typically when I realize that I haven't been noticing things as much. I haven't been bringing my awareness to things as much. And the second that I realize that, a little spark goes off and I usually ignite that flame in me again and realize, holy shit, it's always been in me, which is always a great feeling because, you know, it's amazing to always know that your spirituality and that part of you, that sparkle in you is always in you. You just sometimes forget about it. You sometimes get so sidetracked by life that you forget it's always there. And it's so comforting and also just empowering to tap back into it again with fresh eyes this time, you know? So I like to leave you guys with just a little bit of tangibility. Is that a word? Something tangible that you can take with you after this episode. So, on the topic of paying attention and bringing your awareness to things and noticing, I encourage you to just start noticing things more, okay? You don't have to immediately start thinking about them, okay? It's easier said than done, and I get that. And it's not a bad thing if you do, because it's good to become curious with your thoughts and all those things. But that will happen naturally, okay? Like the curiosity aspect, yes, you kind of have to become more curious with your thoughts and stuff in order to get to deeper meanings. But the things that you notice will naturally provoke certain thoughts that will guide you to certain avenues naturally because God, I don't know, okay? I don't know. I don't have the answers, okay? But it can add a lot of purpose and a lot of reassurance to your life when you start to pay attention to even the littlest things, okay? Pay attention to how things are placed in a way that looks very meticulous and very purposeful, but also by accident at the same time. Paying attention to things that maybe abruptly changed in your life. I know that's more obvious, but sometimes it's less obvious because it's in the more mundane things. Like, for example, I will wear one necklace and that will be the necklace that I will wear for the next, like, genuinely probably at least 6 months of my life. And I'll find myself randomly changing that necklace to something different. And recently, I brought my awareness to that and realized, damn, like I just changed the necklace that I've been wearing for the past 6 months of my life at least. I changed it to a necklace that I've worn maybe once in my life, right? And if you believe that everything is energy, then that's gotta mean something. It's gotta mean something. And it's just fun and whimsy and purposeful and meaningful to find meaning even in the smallest little bit of things. And if people are gonna call you crazy for that, if people are gonna call you hippy dippy for that, psychotic, whatever, maybe it is spiritual psychosis. I don't know. But like, even if it is, so fucking be it. I'm having fun, okay? Like, so fucking be it. If it's giving me purpose in life and if it's making me want to wake up every single day, then so fucking be it, okay? But that's just an example. Like, it can be even on a broader scale when it comes to your relationships, noticing when you feel your funniest and who you're around when you feel your funniest. That's a huge one for me, okay? When I'm not feeling funny in life, ooh, it hurts my soul, okay? And it's usually at times where I feel less tapped in and I feel more under the wave of life. Because like maybe not though, because sometimes when I'm under the wave, like the way that I deal with it and cope with it is with humor. But anyways, I'm gonna cut the woo-woo stuff for the day and go live my life. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you didn't, that's okay too. And yeah, I'm just so lit up by this space right now, to be honest. I'm feeling the love a lot more from you guys, and I'm just really happy to be here. I'm really happy to be doing this. I'm really happy to know that even a few people care. You know, like that just, it means the world to me to know that someone cares about what I have to talk about. Like, that's so cool. So, thank you. And I'm sending you so much love. And yeah, I'm going to cut myself off because I could probably talk about where I'm at with this podcast and how much fulfillment it's bringing me with this new rebrand forever. So I'm going to stop there. But as always, if you want to chit chat with me further about literally anything, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. My main Instagram and my podcast Instagram will both be in the show notes below. So feel free to check that out. And if you feel so inclined to, I would really, really love if you can leave a rating or a review on this podcast because it really helps me just reach like-minded people like you and get the show out there a little bit more. It also gives me a good understanding of what you're liking about the show, what you're not liking about the show, certain things you want me to talk about more or less, or whatever it might be. Obviously, I preach on here to not give a fuck about what other people think, but I do value your insight and I value what you guys have to bring to the table as well. And I want to hear from you and I want to make this a conversation. Like I say in literally almost every episode, like we're having a conversation. So I'm opening it up. I'm throwing you the alley-oop. Give me a little something every now and then if you got the time and the energy for it. Yeah. Anyways, sending you all the love in the world, and I'll see you in the next episode. Mwah!